Good. So let's talk a little bit about Canada. So let's say I'm not interested in US opportunities. How would you, because I understand Canadian fellowships or scholarships are a little bit hard to, to get. Or maybe I should not say hard, but maybe there are fewer of them
Yes.
than the US. So how would you say one can, set him or herself up for such opportunities in Canada,
Right. So
especially in your field, geosciences?
I guess the first disclaimer, I guess is the right word for Canada is we're not very big. Our population is less than 40 million people.
That's
America's
still
population is over 300 million.
right.
So we can scale everything appropriately.
Okay.
Say, for instance, there's 1,000 universities in the US. Canada has maybe
Mhm.
about 100. Our national GDP, uh, it's like 1 trillion, I believe. The US is like 20 trillion or so. Like, just scale everything appropriately. We're a much smaller country in terms of numbers.
Right.
So everything sort of flows back to that overarching principle. To sort of get into Canadian schools, it's a lot more competitive because the numbers are fewer.
Mm.
And not every university in Canada will offer every course. So I believe coming from Nigeria, you need at least a 2-1 to apply to graduate school in Canada. Otherwise, you will not be considered.
Mm.
In the US, depending on how you like what sort of schools you sort of talk to, you might be able to get in with a 2-2. It'd be extremely difficult for you to get in with a 2-2 in Canada as an international student.
Mm.
It's not impossible, but it's near on impossible.
Even with the exams.
That brings me to the second point. We don't ask for exams in Canada. If you
Oh,
have the exams, you can tender them, but except you're trying to do like an MBA where I think all the business schools like the GMAT or well, usually GMAT or the GRE for like a geoscience person coming from Nigeria, it's just your university transcripts.
hmm.
There's no GRE, there's no SAT for undergraduates. There's no TOEFL requirements for people coming from Nigeria or Ghana,
Nigeria.
English-speaking countries that are part of Commonwealth, just like Canada, right? So
Mhm.
it's a little different that way. Now, if you do the GRE and you score exceedingly well, then by all means include that because that's one more data point to judge this international student coming from somewhere
Right.
that they may or may not be familiar with, right? But
Hmm.
if your GRE is a little bit middling or is not the greatest or you haven't done it, they don't ask for it, so there's no need to to tender those. In terms of how the process works, very similar to the US. First thing first, contact a professor. Um, Once you get a go ahead from a professor, then you'd apply to the school. In terms of requirements, it will depend on school, but generally speaking, like I said, you need a 2-1. Our GPAs in Canada, they work weird. It's usually out of a 100% scale. So to get into grad school, you're looking at about 75%, excuse me, to 80% minimum. If you don't meet that, then over the 4 years as an undergrad, you're coming in as a master student here. If you don't meet that, then they look at your major GPA, and I think it has to be 80 to 85%. If you don't meet that, then I think some schools will then look at your last 2 years, the GPA, but it has to be
Yeah.
about 90%. So there's all these different factors they will take into account, but it's dependent on school.
So bottom line is the GPA is like
Yeah,
very.
yeah, because there's no standardized exams, right? The
Mm.
GPA, the statement of purpose, like just the entire application package has to be top notch because it's that much more competitive, especially because it's almost like a trial balloon for you to come to Canada as a student. Because effectively, what we're trying to do on this in this part of the world is we're trying to make sure you don't go back to your country. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but that's really we like it for people that have what we call Canadian experience, whether that's school
Right.
experience or working experience. Because when you finish, those are the prime candidates for permanent residence in Canada. It
Right.
works a little different in the US for a green card, but in Canada, you went to school here or you work here with like actual Canadian work experience, you're out cake. You're gonna get PR usually within a year or two of graduating. And if you actually happen to be here during the pandemic, you didn't even have to be done school. It was like, we're not taking anybody from outside Canada. You're already here. We're
So
fast
just take
tracking
it.
you to permanent residence. So it's a little more competitive that way, because lots of people are looking to move from various countries
Permanently.
for various reasons permanently. If you're young enough, you can do it via school. If you're not young enough, you can do it via your work experience. So it's stuff like that you got to keep in mind for Canada. But once you, I guess, wrap your head around how like the overarching idea that way, the nitty gritty of the process is similar to applying to school in the US. Some
Okay.
schools, in fact, will not give you admission, no matter how good you are, if there's no professor that will supervise your, willing to work with you. So first things first is get the prof that is like, yes, if you get into my university, I'm happy to supervise you. I'm taking people, and then you can apply to that university.
Cool. So I remember you shared some
links,
right?
Yes.
With me. So I'm gonna put those links on. I think. Do you want to describe what the links are about?
Yeah. So I sent 2 links for very, very, very competitive scholarships to Dr. Ojo here. So the first one is the Vanier scholarships. It's targeted towards PhD students. It's open to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, as well as international students, which is why I shared it. The Vanier is a very competitive scholarship. So I believe, in fact, for the Vanier, you have to be nominated by some Canadian university to apply for it. So effectively, you can think of it as a football tournament. I like soccer, so it's almost like your school will have first round and semi-final and quarterfinal, and then the finalists from that school will get forwarded onto the global Canada-wide Vanier competition. And the way the Vaniers work is each school has a quota. So they might be like, okay, we'll give UBC 5 Vaniers, we'll give Toronto 10 Vaniers, we'll give Regina 1, we'll give some school nobody's heard of none. So the Vaniers are not available for every school. But if you get the Vanier, it's a very prestigious scholarship. And normally scholarships like that are not open to international students. It's like getting a NSF in the US without a green card.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
But this one is different. It's
open to the Vanier is open to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and international students. But it's very, very competitive, and it's for PhDs.
And it's for it's for any field, right? Health research. I think I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so there's health research, there's NSEC, which is science and engineering, so geosciences will fall into that. And I think the third one is social sciences.
So how can you get a school to recommend you or to get into the pool of applicants?
Vanier people?
Yeah, for a particular school.
So the bigger schools tend to have more Vanier places. If you go on to their scholarship sections for graduate students, it would have the process. I don't know if, as somebody brand new who is not admitted to that school already, you will be considered for a Vanier. So it might be a case of you apply to this school, you go in there on like your departmental scholarship for the first year, and then beginning of your second year, there's like different deadlines. You might look at the requirements for the Vanier, and if you qualify or you feel you have a good chance, then you apply for it. That's how I used to work at UBC for they call them the tri-council scholarships. So social science, NSAC, which is science and engineering, and then Canadian Institute for Health Research. That's why it's tri-council. That's how I worked at UBC. Other schools might have different processes, but that's something you have to look at the individual school and see how it works. But if you can get a Vanier, you're doing very well. In fact, it'll be looked upon very favorably, regardless of what you want to do, because those things don't come. They don't come easy. Like you're looking at the best of the best across Canada, whether they are Canadian citizens or not. For that.
So what about the Bantam? The Bantam postdoctoral fellowship.
The Bantam is similar, but it's for postdocs. The good thing with the Bantam is
should be you are a postdoc already.
Yes, the Bantam is postdocs.
Okay.
So you already have a PhD. Doesn't matter from where, once again. So you could be Canadian, you could be a permanent resident, you could be a foreign citizen, so international student. To apply for the Bantam. Um, if you are international, then you have to take that Bantam up at a Canadian university. So that's for folks that already have a PhD. And effectively, what they're trying to do is attract world-class research people to consider Canadian universities. So I think the mid 2000s they've done some focus groups, and one of the things they kept hearing was like, look, there's no funding, or compared to the US at least, there's not as much funding in Canada. So they came up with this Vanier and this Bantam and all these things, as well as all the other things like Canada offers, like we've talked about in terms of getting your PR, being able to work off campus during school, and things of that nature.
And it's the same too, like areas of research are the same: health research, NSAC.
And the social sciences, yes, that is correct. So also tri-council administered. And then just like every other postdoc, you need to come up with a research plan with whoever your host or mentor would be. And then you can put in the application for the Bantam. They have very strict deadlines, but the links we sent has all that information and how to go about it.
Cool. So the first one, the Vanier
Yep,
is for PhD students,
that is correct.
and the Bantam is for
Postdocs. Yes, that is correct.
people who already have a PhD, and it doesn't, any country.
Yes.
Okay.
It's open to everybody across the world. They're trying to take the best of the best.
Amazing. So I'm going to leave the link to both opportunities in the video below, and also I think there are some links you shared about how to find schools right in Canada.
Yes.
Creation of accredited schools.
Yes. So people always, well, not always, but a few people ask me or ask the question when you're talking about international education, like, oh, how do I find out if this school has my course, or what are the good schools in Calgary or Vancouver or Toronto or Quebec, right? So I sent a link to Dr. Ojo that we'll share with you guys. You can look at that school. It's affiliated with the Association of Universities and Colleges in Canada, which is like an umbrella body pressure group for all the schools that are accredited in Canada. That web link, you can filter by what degree you want to do. So is it a master's, a bachelor's, or a PhD? Where you want to do it? Is the language of instruction English or French? Are you able to do co-op? So you can sort of do like I guess they call it industrial attachment in Nigeria. Cooperative education is what they call it here. Like you can put in a bunch of filters and it'll tell you what schools offer these things. And then it also has links, appropriate links to those schools to look at how much their tuition is, who to contact for them to send you like a pamphlet about their school. It's a really elegant link, and I stumbled across that link before I ever came to Canada. They've changed the URL, but that's how I found the schools I applied to do my bachelor's degree way back when. So that's why I recommend it, because it's something I've used and it's worked. And then I've basically replicated myself amongst my family in Canada at this point 3 different times. 2 PhDs, 1 first-class bachelor's degree guy, lives in Ottawa. So this is not something I read. This is something I did myself in my room in Lagos. And then I finished work for my brother and my cousin.
And that's universitystudy.ca, right?
Yes, that's the current URL.
Yeah, I'm going to put in the description below, so you can start your search from that. Of course, PR, it's a little bit easier in Canada and US, but there's a way in US as well,
Yeah,
through the national interest
and all these things, yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to leave all the links in the description below. If you are interested in studying in Canada, like you said, there are schools that are maybe affordable that you might be able to pay for, even if you don't get a scholarship. So you will see all that information in the links in the description below. That was an exciting talk, my brother. Thank you so much for for the wealth of information you shared with us today. And I'm sure it's going to be helpful for a lot of people, a lot of viewers. And apart from that, I just want to wish you well in your work.
Thank you.
And I hope you keep enjoying it and having fun and rising in the ranks.
Yeah.
When you become CEO, we'll come and celebrate. Flying down to Canada and have fun.
Yeah.
But definitely, hopefully sometime this year, we got the national interest waiver, and hopefully our green card should be out soon.
Yeah.
When we can travel, we'll come. Our plan is to come to Canada to test it out.
It's a nice place, man.
Let's test if this green card is working.
No,
So
sure.
we'll probably come first to your place and just have some fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for your time, my brother.
No worries at all. Thank you.